Reform UK, previously known as the Brexit Party, has built its platform around issues like national sovereignty, reducing taxes and cutting bureaucracy. Since the election last year, their popularity continues to gather pace, with polling suggesting they are very much in the running to form the next government. You may have seen Farage's delight in recent weeks after news broke that his party had surpassed the membership figure of the Tories.
We've done it. We're through. We're through.
And more recently, it's emerged that the richest man on the planet, Elon Musk, has even suggested he will make a sizable donation to the party.
I mean, he is fully behind us. He wants to help us. He's not opposed to the idea of giving us money, provided we can do it legally through UK companies.
But whilst all the chatter is about what this could mean for people, and rightly so, very little, if anything, has been said about what the rise of Reform UK could mean for animals. So in this video, I'm going to break it all down. First, let's address the glaring issue. Reform UK has shown absolutely no interest in improving animal welfare standards. In their manifesto titled "Our Contract with You," there is not a single word about improving literally anything for animals. Nothing about the senseless badger cull that has seen the deaths of over 250,000 badgers. Nothing about the cruel use of snares or dealing with illegal hunting. What Reform did vow in the agriculture section, which allegedly sets out the reforms that Britain needs in the first 100 days following a general election, was a commitment to protect country sports, like hunting and shooting, basically anything that moves, because of course that's definitely a major priority for people. And sure, whilst we're the first to criticise the current Labour government for their complete lack of inaction so far for animals, they did at least make some space in their manifesto commitments for improving the lives of animals. What I find particularly worrying with Reform is their focus on deregulation and their obsession with what they call cutting red tape. Because more often than not, deregulation results in weakened protections, less oversight, and ultimately leads to less accountability where people are using or exploiting animals for commercial gain. This isn't accidental. Reform UK's ethos prioritizes profits and convenience over all else, and this could mean the destruction of literally years of progress for animals. This brings me to their stance on climate change, which is in many ways a telling reflection of this ethos. Their position in many ways on the environmental challenges we face spells huge trouble for animals. The party has consistently downplayed environmental issues, opposing policies that address carbon emissions and climate-driven habitat destruction. As explained in a brilliant article by Adam Barnett, Reform MPs have already used their new platform in Parliament to attack climate action and cast doubt on climate science. Literally last month, Nigel Farage assisted in launching a UK branch of the US-based Heartland Institute, known of course for its climate change denial. The organisation proposes radical anti-climate policies, including slashing restrictions on fossil fuel extraction and scrapping investment in renewable energy. Looking at the current crop of Reform MPs, the situation is just as bleak. Richard Tice MP has long campaigned for the expansion of fossil fuel extraction, including shale gas and new coal mines, opposing net zero targets and promoting increased fossil fuel use. The irony is, though, despite his public opposition to net zero targets, Tice's property company has embraced green technologies, with electric car charging points and roof-mounted solar panels increasingly featuring in refurbishment efforts undertaken by Quidnet Rate Limited, where Tice is the chief executive. Ironic. The issue Reform has, though, is they've built this image of being anti-woke and anti-green to an almost comical level at the expense of reason or logic. Just watch this absurd clip from Reform MP Lee Anderson and you'll see what I mean.
In our universities, there are a certain group of people who are trying to influence and indoctrinate our young people. And this happened with my son about 10 years ago. He went to uni, he went to Sheffield. And I didn't see him for months. He came back, many, many months later, and he came back different. He got long hair, he got a beard, his clothes were different, a different attitude, different outlook on life. And I thought, my goodness, Harry, what's happened to you? He says, Dad, he sat down with me on the settee. He put his arm on my hand. He says, Dad, I've been away for a few months now, and I've come back, and I'm not the Harry that went away all those months ago. I'm different now. I'm a different person. I've found out who I actually am. And he held my hand, looked into my eyes, and says, Dad, I've got to tell you something about myself. He says, I am. And I thought, Harry, just get on with it. You know, you're my son. I love you, whatever you are. He says, Dad, I'm a vegetarian. Shocking. Absolute shocking. Let that be a warning to you.
Joking or not, thing is, it's not really very funny when you remember that this man is one of 650 serving members of parliament. And of course, the fact animal agriculture is one of the leading contributors to the climate crisis. And this is how our elected representatives are choosing to deal with the issue. It's again a very telling reminder of the sort of company Reform UK are more than happy to keep, and their complete disregard for the well-being of animals. Again evidenced by post-Brexit trade agreements, another area where Reform UK's policies could harm animals. The party has advocated for free trade with countries that have significantly lower animal welfare standards than the UK, and I mean, it's not like our standards are great as it is. This could mean importing products like chlorinated chicken, hormone-treated beef, or eggs from battery-caged hens, all practices that are quite rightly banned or heavily restricted under current UK laws. And of course, back at home, Reform UK's declaration of protecting country sports and being led by a man who is a massive Hunt supporter should raise serious alarm bells. I can't help but show this picture an anti-Hunt supporter took a few years back. And here's what he had to say on the issue of fox hunting when he was confronted a few months ago.
What do you think of the Hunting Act?
I think it's monstrous.
Are you pro-hunt yourself?
I'm pro freedom of choice.
Really? Even if it involves animal abuse?
I can. Well, I wouldn't like animal abuse.
Yeah.
No, of course not. But I, honestly, well,
God,
point number one: foxes need controlling.
Yeah.
But I take a libertarian point of view that if people want to pursue those activities, it's not for government to stop.
Yeah. Even if so, like, let's say that, like, dog fighting, right? Would you be okay with dog fighting?
No, I don't think fox hunting is cruel.
You don't think it's cruel?
No.
Do you think dog hunting is cruel?
I think shooting foxes is cruel.
Really? You think shooting foxes is worse?
Much
keep
crueler.
Filming,
Do you know why? Do you know why? Because if you go lamping,
yeah,
right. So if you've got an estate,
yeah,
you know, and you want to, say you want to encourage hares,
yeah,
or you want to encourage skylarks,
yeah,
right. If you control foxes, there'll be more skylarks and more hares. Fact.
Yeah.
You know, all ground nesting things. If you shoot a fox at night,
but why do they want ground nested birds?
And what about them
That's for shooting
Well,
estates. That's for people to go and shoot, right?
No, we don't shoot larks. Not French.
What about
Yeah,
the
but
barbaric way they
like
rip the foxes apart?
Yeah.
Well, actually.
Because I've been stabbing, I stab hunt.
Yeah, actually, if a hound gets a fox, it should kill it very, very quickly.
They don't know, I've seen it happen.
What a lovely man. I think this clip says it all. If he had it his way, the 2004 Hunting Act, which he describes here as being monstrous, would be done away with, and hunts would literally have free rein to set a pack of hounds on a terrified, defenceless animal. Of course, he brings out the boring, lazy argument that foxes are somehow killed quickly when hunted. I can tell you there's nothing quick or painless about a fox being relentlessly pursued for miles on end across the countryside before being savaged by dogs limb for limb. And it's views like this that demonstrate why nobody should trust this man or trust Reform UK to bring about anything good for animals. Farage hardly gives a toss about most people, let alone the lives of animals. If Reform UK make it into power, we could see the legalisation of fox hunting. We'd see literally no action taken against the awful bird shooting industry. We'd see even less regulations and protections for farmed animals, and we'd see the empowerment of people who have an abysmal environmental record, putting us on track to destroy this planet we call home even sooner than we already are. So bear this in mind over the coming months and years, because if you care even the slightest bit about the animals, then voting for Reform UK is not going to help them one bit.